So I have fallen into the back rooms. That's why I literally haven't been uploading, which kind of sucks. And I found this rotting corpse while I've been down here, and I've kind of made him my friend. I named him Skelly Bruh. Luckily though, new JoJoLands. I didn't even get to read last chapter, which kind of sucks, but that's why there was no review on that, so I'm sorry about that. But last chapter was pretty cool, but I didn't even get to read that. Well, we didn't get to read that until literally like 2 days ago. So, yes, late, I know, sorry. But anyways, this chapter is like kind of pretty cool. There's like pretty cool stuff happening. You're gonna freaking like it.
So this picks off basically right where the last chapter left off, where Jodio is getting attacked by a stand, which I'm 90% sure this is Key West's stand. I don't really know what's going on here. It seems like her stand works by some dude. There's some dude that's living that can get in between the gaps of objects, and that's where he like appears, and he has a bunch of freaking tiny arms and hands that like can grab you and like, I guess, put force onto you. It kind of reminds me of like Koichi's like gravity kind of thing. I guess he can kind of do that. So this stand, from what I see, grabs Jodio's ankle and like basically breaks his freaking ankles. He falls over, he's hurt. Dragana and Charming Man are like, bro, what the freak are you doing, dude? You're like goofing off, like we're trying to get off the ship. The police personnel, the firefighters, they said they were the FBI, basically just going around telling Dragana and them, like, you need to get off the ship, there's a fire, blah blah blah. And Jodio is like trying to conceal the fact that he's under an attack from a stand, but every time he like tries to move out of these like boxes, the stand comes out from under the gaps and like keeps pushing on his leg, and somehow he's bleeding from this. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on. There's a couple things in this chapter where it's like kind of hard what's going on. Usually I could kind of like zoom in and it's a little easier to see on like my end, the website I'm reading on. Manga Dex used to have like really good enhanced like images where I could like zoom in and like look at like smaller panels better. But since JoJoLands got nuked on Manga Dex, I have it, you know, I'm sure everybody else has been having to read it somewhere else, and it's not as much of, you know, good quality. So this weird ass stand with a bunch of hands and like a face on these suitcases that are in between the gaps that keep like basically sexually assaulting Jodio's leg. He has enough. It's hurting him, and he's like, freaking Dragana! One of the people here is a freaking stand user! This is an attack! They're onto us! And Dragana and Charming are like, holy freaking crap, dude, what's going on? Nobody can really see this besides Jodio because it's in between the gaps, like he said. The FBI is like, freaking stand up, dude, what are you doing, dude? And Jodio is still getting like absolutely touched. So it's fucking him up, and he's like, the stand attack is coming from the gaps! If I don't get away, my legs will be crushed. And he's like, and it's basically searching him. I think it's searching him for the lava rock, because Key West knows that there's a lava rock, and it's most likely on Jodio. So that's when she basically is attacking Jodio, looking for the rock. He gets enough of this shit. He calls out November Rain, and it starts pouring. Also, I feel like this has like been a while since we've seen November Rain. Not even joking. I kind of think November Rain is like one of my favorite stands right now. The design of it and like what it does is pretty fucking cool. He just fucking like, he calls it out and it just starts pouring rain. So November Rain helps him get out of this situation. Key West is kind of looking from a distance. Dragana and Charming Man also see this from a distance, and even they don't know what's going on. They didn't see exactly what happened, but Jodio still luckily has the lava rock. But because Key West Stan like was kind of searching him for the lava rock, Jodio knows this, and it grabbed hold of the lava rock. So he goes to Dragana and Charming Man. He's like, there's someone here that knows about its power. There's someone here that knows about the lava rock, and there's someone that knows what it does. And then Charming Man is like, no freaking way. And then Dragana is like, how could that possibly be? Somebody knows about the lava rock itself? Who? And then and Jodio goes, Howler. Where did he go? Where is Howler? And they say that he went past them. He went to some other room deeper into the ship. And Jodio says, I don't really think it's Howler. It looks like hiding is his top priority right now. If he found out that we had the lava rock from the beginning, basically, he would have just killed us from the start. Howler doesn't know, not from the moment. And Jodio kind of continues. He says he was forced to take the lava rock out of his pocket. There's recordings of him on the surveillance cameras that are on the yacht. and he says that whoever the stand user is will be back to take the rock. Then Jodio says that we need to escape, but he also says as long as Howler still doesn't know, then he'll definitely come to us about exchanging the land on the island of Hawaii. He'll be the one asking us to sign the documents. And as for our new unfortunate enemy that we come across, we will just get rid of them. So because Howler still doesn't know that they actually do have a rock, the power of the lava rock will still have its flow, essentially, and how it will lead, eventually it will lead to Howler signing those documents. But first, they're going to have to get rid of Key West, which I'm interested in seeing how that's going to play out, because out of this whole new gang of goons that have showed up, Key West is definitely my favorite. I love how she looks. So this cuts to a flashback, basically, where Howler is a lot younger and he's talking to his grandfather, and his grandfather is essentially explaining to him that Howler, you are blessed. There is nothing that you cannot have. You were born into abundance from the very start. The Howlers are at their apex. No enemies, no conflict, just a happy, healthy family. He says, but don't lose sight of what that means. A child born into it might not realize it, but it means that you're walking on the path of falling from the summit. The Howler family shines brightly now, but in exchange, it means that quietly, slowly, the shadows it casts are becoming darker. And he's basically explaining to Howler that they're at their apex, they're at the top of the mountain, and the only way to go after that is back down. And he's explaining basically where Howler has been born into that era of their family where the only way there is to go is down. This cuts back to the present. The FBI pulls in. They're like, freaking Howler, dude, what are you freaking doing, dude? Get off the shit. This is the millionth time I've said it. I honestly don't know how they haven't arrested these dudes yet, because no one is listening to these government official, to these FBI people. And it cuts to Howler showing that he has this book and that he's reading. And it seems to be a book that has information about his ancestors in it, and he's thinking in his mind back to what his grandfather told him. He says, I don't know when, but you can be sure it will come, and it will be quiet yet sudden. That's the era you were born into, but when that time comes, Aka, what you must do is written here in this book. This is a diary left to us by our family's founder, Latrato. I think that's how you say that name. I've read this myself again and again, maybe 10 of thousands of times. The first Latrato wrote this back then looking ahead to the future for us, his descendants. This diary is written to be difficult to understand so outsiders can't read it, and there is no map either. But look here, this part, lightning. Read it! With the lightning of the new moon, freaking Poochie reference! Not really, but the breath that spouts from the earth. In this text, it says on the book, it says, God expresses all of this. World with numbers. Numbers control the flow of this world. God is the lava of Hawaii, word I can't pronounce. With the lightning of the new moon. The breath that spouts from the earth, the footprint of the lightning. And Aka Howler's grandfather is basically explaining how they don't have a lava rock anymore. The original lava rock that they once had from their ancestor is basically crumbled to nothing, and they haven't been able to find a new lava rock for a very long time. And Howler comes to the conclusion and says, so then somebody somewhere knows about those lava rocks and has found a new one. That's why now suddenly I'm being labeled as being made illegal weapons in factories. And he realizes to himself, he says, am I falling? So Aka at this point realizes there's somebody with a lava rock and is trying to take his fortune, and that is why all these random crazy events, I guess these absurd events, are taking place or happening to him. So then we get this part which I think is really interesting. Howler is looking at this text again. With the lightning of the new moon, the breath that spouts from the earth. So he grabs this crucifix that he has, and he's kind of looking at it, and he looks at this hole that's on the top of the crucifix, and he says, I've seen it there on the altar, I don't know how many times. Okay, well, but I never noticed, setting the Christian part aside, this crucifix, it goes right through. I just hit my freaking mic. The first generation Latrato, it's a fulgurite. Now, when I read this, I was like, what on earth even is this? I had to look it up, but I looked it up, but Howler also explains what it is. Lightning. Fulgurite, basically, the context of what he's talking about. A rock that's formed from the high temperature plasma impact of lightning. And they made a crucifix out of one. Then it cuts to these panels where there's like freaking lightning striking and crackling and hitting the freaking ground, and it like strikes this rock. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know what this panel is with the cross and like there's arrows pointing out of it. I guess this is just how that crucifix was, lightning hit and freaking that's how the crucifix was made. And Howler says this hole is the remnant of a lightning strike piercing the earth, lava and lightning. That's how only the first generation Letrado found it on the vast lava plains. So we're getting like almost this foreshadowing. Eventually we're gonna be on a fucking like crazy volcano area with a storm approaching, lightning striking the freaking ground, creating like, I don't even know. The final fight of JoJoLands is gonna happen in like on top of a volcano during a storm where there's lightning hitting the ground or some absolutely crazy shit. So I guess this crucifix is how the first generation Letrado, Howler, whatever, found the lava rock. So then this cuts back to Charming Man, Dragana, and Jodio, and Dragana says, so this is the start of his assets being seized, referring to basically the start of the lava rock taking its process. And the Charming Man says, it's the beginning of the end for the Howler family. These FBI people are waiting for an order from the president. This mega yacht is probably going to be taken away somewhere soon. And they're climbing this staircase, and Jodio says, right now, stay as far away as you can from the FBI people and their firefighters. Let's just leave the ship. It's the gaps. The enemy that got here is in the gaps. They're watching from somewhere, likely hiding in the gaps for when we pass by. So this cuts to Charming Man just putting his ID back in his like coat or whatever. And then when he takes his hand out of his coat, his freaking thumb is just gone. It's missing. It's like stuck under the card. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, JoJoLands so far has been like the most gruesome, like gory, like people getting their necks slashed open, their freaking heads exploded everywhere, their freaking limbs are just getting like torn off their bodies. It's kind of crazy. So he just kind of looked at this and he goes, oh, as if that's not probably insanely painful and like scary to look at. And then I don't even know exactly, this is hard to comprehend. The Key West's stand is in between the gap of the ID card and then Charming Man's body. And then Dragana's ID card and then Jodio's ID card fly out of their freaking pockets, yo, and freaking attack Charming Man. I'm really interested in knowing exactly what this stand is doing here. So then we can see the stand, I guess, in between Charming Man's coat and his body, his like shirt. It's appearing on his body. And then he's saying it's in the gap between the ID cards. And then the ID card that flew off of Jodio, it ripped his pocket, and then the lava rock falls out of his pocket and hits the freaking ground. And then he goes to reach for it, and then the stand, I guess, what is happening? It's like a liquid almost. It's like flows down, I guess, the stairs, and it grabs it. And it looks like it grabs it, and it shoots back up Charming Man's like leg. And Dragana and Jodio are watching this, and Charming Man is on the floor. And he kind of looks like Usagi from like one of the first couple chapters when Usagi was getting attacked. He's freaking out. His fucking face is all crazy. They're in the gap between the cards. Take them off. And Dragana's like, OMG, Charming Man. And then Jodio's like, if we don't do something, they're going to take the lava rock too. Because I don't give a fuck about anyone else. I don't give a fuck about Charming Man. I just care about the rock.
So as per usual, we're left with the JoJoLands JoJo cliffhanger. The chapter ends, and I'm like thinking to myself, how the hell are these characters gonna get out of the situation? The stand can get in between cracks and shit, so like I guess like in between the cracks of like these two, I don't know, these sanding sheets, like it can appear in between these, and that there's just gaps in like between like literally everything. There's like a gap between my ass and this chair I'm sitting on right now. I don't know how the hell they're gonna get past that, but it's starting to ramp up and look pretty cool. I would say this is definitely like an 8 out of 10 chapter. The Ningbo and Usagi thing, I don't even know how Usagi like used his stand to kill Ningbo. I don't know, but he blew his fucking head off. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably like, JoJoLands to me it seems like the most gruesome work ARAKI has like made so far. People are getting their freaking heads exploded off their freaking necks, dude. People losing limbs, getting their necks fucking slashed and all sorts of shit. dude, ARAKI is cooking, and I already know. So lava rocks are made by, or you could find lava rocks by rocks that are hit by lightning, fulgurites. I don't know. So turns out, looks like Key West is actually going behind Howler's back here. She knows about the existence of the lava rock, and she's like not telling Howler about it, and she's attacking Jodio, who has the rock, and she takes the rock at the end. So, I mean, who would have thought that? They're corrupt. She's a corrupt lawyer, dude. She's a corrupt lawyer, and then like La Shablong is some corrupt police officer. Ningbo was a firefighter. So I guess she's gonna try to use the lava rock for herself. Who would have guessed? So I'm gonna find my way out of these back rooms. The only unfortunate part is I might have to leave Skelly-Bruh behind. But next chapter, I shouldn't be late or anything. Hopefully I don't miss any other chapters. Last chapter was actually a fucking banger, so I fucking feel bad that I missed that. But I guess I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching. Bye!